Championship. If you are only just joining us, or if you are watching post-race, of course, as I always say, you are more than welcome to skip yourself ahead to the start of the stream or the intro, which shouldn't be too long, seeing as though I am last in. I am on time, though I do get invited last, just to save time and make it more efficient so we're not waiting around for so long. But yeah, and if you are watching live, do come in, get yourself settled, go make yourself a cup of tea, whatever it might be that you usually do to get yourself started for an incredible night of racing. Koru is already confident in chasing down his inaugural victory in APPF1. We've got incredible talent on the grid tonight. We've got the debutees of It SpongeBob, an incredibly quick driver, James McCrow, as well, taken his maiden victory last weekend. Sumo, of course, very quick. As always, Jim, an incredibly quick driver. So too is Mitch. He really showed his mettle last time in Austria. Lifebout, not someone I've ever seen before. He's going to be looking to prove himself tonight. MX, of course, championship contender of last season and the Tier 1 champion. Tier, on his good day, definitely can be up there, and hopefully we'll see some, well, just charges through the field, and hopefully a good qualifying performance for him. Jackalaka, the Scotsman, very quick as always, and around the likes of Silverstone and Shanghai, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Scott, the Season 3 champion, knows his way around a circuit, and he definitely knows what it's like to be a champion with that mentality as well. Koru, very quick, just not got the right, I don't think the consistency really to really convert into a win. He's always been up there, but something, whether his fault or not, has gone wrong. Ghost, reigning champion, two-time champion, and of course Tier 1 championship contender, knows what it's like to win as well. He's going to be looking to get himself to the front of the field. Of course, had a bit of a dismal week last time out. He's going to be looking to make the most of that. Max, also very quick. Madman Ollie Oliver as well, pretty decent in Tier 2. Kington, Rick and Davila and AP back on the grid tonight as well. All of them very quick, all of them looking to prove their worth. And in a few moments time we'll get ourselves started properly. Do make sure to get yourselves in. Predictions, Kiernan, I'll go through them in just a second, but right now I have to say hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the second round of the Sunday Night Sprint Championship. Last weekend saw some of the most incredible and memorable racing around Bahrain and Austria, which is always to be expected in APPF1. Today we head to Shanghai and Silverstone for the Chinese and British Grand Prix. Both circuits tough in their own respect, but most importantly, both have the capacity to give 5-star quality racing. We first head to China, then flip the grid on its head for the reverse grid race in Silverstone. With the competitiveness of this Season 5 field, I certainly cannot wait to get going. One short qualifying and two 25% races, one of which will be reversed on the table for tonight. I'm Zach Sweeney, your commentator for all of the action of tonight's racing. Buckle up, Season 5 round number 2 starts right here, and we are now loading into the one short qualifying session for Shanghai, the Chinese Grand Prix, a circuit we haven't seen since the 1000th anniversary. Well, the 1000 Grand Prix special race back in 2019. That was, to be fair, a pretty dull race. We had Danny Kvyat and Landon Norris, the two McLarens, coming together. But other than that, it wasn't the best race. The last time we had a really good race back at Shanghai was back in 2018, when we had that last sort of third quarter of the race resurgence after that late safety car from Daniel Ricciardo to win the 2018 Chinese Grand Prix. However, we're going to ride on board for a qualifying lap. We'll go with the reigning champion, as always, of Ghost, to see how he negotiates the Shanghai International Circuit. In towards turn 1, the very snailing tightens up as you go through in towards turn 2. You have to take a nice wide line and cut in for a late apex. AP looking pretty good. Remember, this is where he got his maiden podium in the Sprint Championship a couple of seasons ago. It seems to be pretty close between Mitch, Jim and AP through Sector 1 in towards this heavy braking zone of turn number 6 to end off Sector 1. And then get on the power very quickly, very heavily as you then go through the flat out turn 7 in qualifying trim. Should be very close in race trim, probably a couple of safety lifts through turn 8 in towards turn 9 and 10. Heavy on the anchors, just got to get it through, keep that momentum up through the mid-speed corner, just get that throttle down, try and get a pin, use the track on the exit as we now head in towards turn number 11. Look, just before the 50 ball, just after the 100, about the 75 through the then pretty much opposite to turns 1 and 2. Turn 13 really opens up as you go through it. You've got to use the banking and just allow the car to grip. You've got to trust the car is going to grip. Kington has had a bit of a spin and retired from the session. DRS open then down this long, 1.5 kilometers, I believe, back straight in towards the heavy braking zone of turn 14, looking for the 100 meter ball just to start this curve here. Down the gears, breaking a straight line down to second gear for Ghost, who's going to be very close between Mitch, himself, Jim and Harry Bix. AP and the both McLarens are looking very good as well as he goes through the final corner. Short burst of DRS towards the line. It seems as though Mick is going to be on pole. In fact, no, it's not. Ghost takes pole with a 31.806, I believe it was, but it seemed to be very close, and the drag race to the line was the deciding factor. But the reigning champion then proving why he is as such. It was Ghost then is on pole, 131.806, with Mitch joining him on the front row. With a 31.966. Harry Bix then for AlphaTauri P3, with Davila rounding off the second row. Jim and Paus round up 5 and 6, with Sumo and SpongeBob on his debut, a very respectable P8. James McCrow P9, with Jackalacco rounding off the top 10. Koru in P11 with Tier P12. MX, another pretty poor qualifying showing for him down in P13. Madman Ollie Oliver P14 with Max P15. Woo Max after his current recent form P16. Scott 17th. Rick Lifebout Kington rounds off the grid, though Rick tried his hand on those medium tyres, couldn't quite get himself inside the top 10. A very close field, which is always to be expected in APPF1. You can't leave anything on the table because you will get swallowed up by those behind. And you just always have to be on your toes in terms of APPF1, Kin. I'll go back to your questions. I think it's going to be a Mitch, Ghost, Jim top 3. Maybe Paus can be up there as well. I think it's all going to be decided maybe with this first lap showdown or a late safety car. You can never count anything out in terms of what can happen in APPF1, especially around China, because it does invite good racing. And of course Silverstone is looking to be an incredibly good race as well. So we do have to look to the race we've got at hand right now. 14 laps of the Chinese Grand Prix, the 25% format race. With the predicted pit stop strategy going to be soft to medium, I would probably back that. What the tyre situation looked like? Pretty unanimously, people going for the red wall soft compound tyre, though 3 Tier MX and Madman Ollie Oliver going for the medium tyres. They're going to look to go long, probably to lap 7, 8, and then be on low fuel and pretty much quali mode in terms of the last final few laps to try and claw back some of that time. Will it work for them? We'll have to wait and see. I mean, they're going to be caught up in traffic anyway, so they might as well be caught up in traffic and take the brunt of tyre early on. It can always work. Full grid, of course, for tonight. It's lovely to see on a Sunday, and hopefully all of these guys are going to give us some incredible action. And of course, Ghost is going to be looking to chase after his third title in the Sprint Championship. And Koru having the excuses out already, didn't activate DRS for the entire lap. We'll take that with a pinch of salt. Of course, it is Koru. He does like to make his excuses. Let's have a quick look at the standings and how they rack up. Then Mitch, then the rookie, leads the way, 39 points with Davila P2. James Recrow 1 point behind Davila P3. Jackalacco 4th, MX 5th with AP Matcham on points on 29. Ghost is down in P11 because of course he did DNF in Austria, so he's going to be looking back to claw back some of those points in the Drivers' Championship. Still a long way to go, but the point system, how close it's been. I was talking to Paus just a little bit ago about how the point system works and how it's so good because everyone is kept in the mix pretty much until the final couple of races. You look back to sort of the Sprint Championship or the Tier 1 Championship last season. I think it was something like 7, a pretty much outside shot, but still a shot nonetheless. So it does keep things close, but you have to be on your toes. You cannot afford to have a bad race whatsoever. Though here now is Ghost lining himself up onto the grid. He's done the tyre woman skills, weave around left to right like a little snake. As I always say, using the friction to get some heat into the tyres for a nice grippy launch in towards turn 1. Ghost's starts have been impeccable recently. though can he keep the consistency up, because he has lacked that as of recent times. But Ghost, he's one to always find his form. Corey comeback, we'll have to wait and see. He's down in P11. He's got the fresh tyres. We'll have to see what he can do. 14 laps then ahead of us for the Chinese Grand Prix. It's Ghost on pole. Mitch alongside Harry Bix and Davila complete the second row, waiting for the green flag at the back of the grid. And then for the 5 red lights to illuminate your screen. Here we go then. The cars are revving up. We go to 3, 4, 5 red lights to the Chinese Grand Prix. And we're underway in racing. It's a pretty decent start from Mitch, already pulling alongside Ghost in towards turn 1. He's gotten ahead. That's the AlphaTauri. Is that Harry Bix going to the outside there? 3 abreast in towards turn number 1. The snailing turns 1 and 2. Ghost trying to give the Williams a fight all the way round and keep him tight. It's going to be the inside for turn 2. If Ghost can have a look up the inside, he does. But the Williams of Mitch keeping him honest, keeps him squeezed side by side through turns 2 into 3. It's now a dash towards turn number 5. Using the ERS as Mitch to try and stay ahead, going half defensive to the inside. Ghost goes to the outside. The Williams reacts. Ghost going to try and set up a switcheroo in towards the flat out turn 7. Corey has left the session. Is that a lag out or something? But a very chaotic start to this race, and Mitch takes the lead of the Chinese Grand Prix. Harry Bix had a little look in towards turn 1, couldn't quite convert. Stays P3 with one of the... Davila went round at turn 1, didn't quite catch that. AP has had a pretty poor start as well, and Mitch has gone round. He's spun going in towards turns 9 and 10. He's now having to rejoin the circuit around P12. He's going to lose a ton of positions. Ghost gets himself back into the race. That's another spin. That's the Mercedes of Tier driver we tipped to do really well in this race. Mitch trying to already make up some positions on Kington, who started on the back row of the grid, already into P14, coming back at him in towards turn 12. Side by side they go with the Williams. Everyone just trying to find a way through. Madman Ollie Oliver having a good start. He get oh no, a commentator's cursing. He's gone round off the exit of turn 13. Further up, Jim getting past his teammate. This is Rick on his teammate on the soft compound tire. Should be a pretty easy move as they all try and rejoin the circuit further back. The 2 Alfa Romeos going side by side. Rick is ahead going in, and the Red Bull of Wumax trying to make up places as well. A very chaotic start to this race then. Ghost leads from XD, Little Jim and Harry Bix in P3 with it. SpongeBob having an incredible start from P8 to P4. He's got Jack Alacco for company behind. The 2 Alpines both going very well in the Constructors' Championship. Lifebelt on his debut has retired and hasn't even been able to complete 1 lap of this. Oh no, Palps, a clumsy mistake into the back of James McCrow under the virtual safety car. That could be a 5-second penalty heading his way. But unfortunately isn't, and hopefully no damage under the VSC then. Everyone having to adhere to that 40% race speed delta. They just have to go 40% of the speed they would normally travel and just stay in that positive delta. Corey unhappy with the driving standards, though it is turn 1 in a sprint championship. You've got to be on your toes. Davila comes out then in P18. While it's not a full course safety car, it will be a cheaper pit stop. Not necessarily the free pit stop you would get under a full safety car. But Jim's going to look to claw back some time. Harry Bix also doing well for AlphaTauri up there. And it's SpongeBob looking to go forward in this race. Also, Mitch down in P12. He's going to try and claw back. Not quite sure what happened to him, in all honesty. He just sort of spun on his own accord, which, again, is unfortunate. But, again, very, very close field all the way through. And they're pretty much all in a conga line with a lot of people still within 1 second of each other. When we get to lap 3, the DRS will be enabled. And are we going to go green very soon? They are accelerating, so you would assume that the safety car is ending. Harry Bix trying to get the jump on his teammate. They're all having to back off, though that could harm his sort of run. And SpongeBob pulling alongside. The safety car hasn't ended. He's gone. He's got a drive-through penalty for speeding under the VSC. So too is Jack Alacco. That is such a shame. You've got to adhere to that delta, though, and it's caught him off guard. So Ghost still leads. Jim, Harry Bix though with that drive. Oh no, SpongeBob with the drive through. Harry Bix managing to do well enough. DRS has been enabled, and straight into the pit lane comes SpongeBob along with the McLaren of Paus. Maybe for his first pit stop, perhaps. Maybe sustained some damage. But we'll have to have a look with the 2 Ferraris. Kington and Max, P11 and 12 as it stands. With Rick going very wide and having a spin through turns 1 and 2. That's a shame. He rejoins just behind the Haas of Scott. Managing to rejoin relatively safely, though, is going to want to regain his composure pretty quickly, the young Dutchman. Mitch already on the charge towards the front, looking to hyper move for P8, going to send one to the inside of turn number 6, gets it stopped, fair play. The Red Bull of Wumax is going to try and go for the switcheroo, get the power down, but Mitch, a stunning move under brakes for the Williams. He's going to use that pace, he's going to carve his way through the field once again. And, well, he's definitely got the mentality, the capability of doing so. The pace is definitely there for Mitch, but It's going to be a tough ask in order to still win this race. Jim trying to get himself within DRS range of Ghost. That virtual toe hook just to latch onto the rear diffuser of the Aston Martin and reel him back in slowly but surely, and use that energy recovery system. Though Ghost, as to be expected, is in fact just saving. SpongeBob with his drive-through penalty on up and move for P3, going to the left-hand side. That was going to be all in vain, and Harry Bix is going to say, well, I'm not going to fight this one too hard, seeing as you are coming into the pits very soon. And then Morgan managed to get it stopped for turn 14. Sumo and James McCrow not far behind. James is really good on his first couple of laps. He just manages to get the most out of the car, managing to capitalise on anything, keep his nose clean. Sumo in as well as SpongeBob. HD little Jim looking to the inside of Ghost. This could be a fight for the race lead very soon. Jim on his debut looking to the inside of turn number 2. Not much going to come to fruition for that one. Harry Bix 2 seconds adrift, though if these two fight he could be invited to have a little look on this battle. Ghost not flinching with his ERS delivery through 5, that flat kink in towards 6. Who's going to be latest under brakes? It's going to be pretty even between the two. And for Harry Bix's sake, he's going to hope that his teammate starts to hold up Ghost just a little bit in order to allow the man in P3 to close the gap just that little bit more. Through turn 8 into 9, just got to anchor onto the brakes, keep that momentum going. Ghost very quick through this middle sector. That's where he gained so much time in qualifying, because he was so quick. Struggled through the first and final sector, but that middle sector was so mightily strong that it didn't really matter what his first and second sector were like, because they were good. But that middle sector absolutely exceptional, and you can see he's managed to open up a bit of a gap. Will it be enough of a gap in order to retain the race lead? Not even using his ERS, in all honesty. He's just sort of just using it in bursts in order to keep the AlphaTauri behind, though he is coming at a rate of knots in towards turn 14. Going to go to the right hand side. The AlphaTauri, who's going to be latest under brakes, goes trying around the outside, or is he just going to concede the corner? He says, okay, you can come through, I'm going to try and get the better exit. But Jim into the race lead then of this Chinese Grand Prix on lap number 4 of 14, as both of them come into the pits on the same lap. Lap 4 of 14 is when we're going to see a couple of people. Bix inherits the race lead ahead of James McCrow, because both teams would have had to double stack, so their teammate's going to have to stay out another lap. MX unsurprisingly stays out. Mitch stays out, confident in his pace, and wants to get past MX, who does go a little bit deep. Mitch opting to take to the tighter line, because I think what he's trying to do there is, if a gap opens up, he can then push the power down, claim the corner, and then just sort of barge the opponent out, which is fair enough. It's a very cheeky but effective move in order to claim that position. It's SpongeBob rejoins after his drive-through in P10. Still has to make that pit stop though. And James McCrow on the back of Harry Bix. It's an Aston Martin and an AlphaTauri fighting, but it's not the two we would expect. This is the fight for P3 and 4 so far in this race. Madman Ollie Oliver has gone round off the exit of turn 4. And that is a shame for the Haas, but and has retired from the session, in fact, on track. Which will see him start at the back of the grid for Silverstone. No full course yellow as of yet, seeing as though it wasn't actually a crash. Where has Ghost and Jim come out? They've come out a second apart. Ghost on the medium, so too is Jim, and he's got to be crucial for Ghost to keep him in that 1 second DRS range. Can James McCrow do it for Aston Martin, get themselves onto a double provisional podium? And in fact, Sumo is 2 seconds back. It'll be interesting where Sumo comes out relative to these two, because it might be that Sumo is actually on the podium provisionally. James McCrow looking to the right hand side, has a bit of a look, very late under brakes. Look at that closing speed, and I'm sure both of them are going to come into the pit. This is Mitch up into a provisional P3. Bit of a slide off the exit of turn 14 though, manages to get the power down as he comes into the pit lane. Harry Bix comes in. James McCrow though stays out another lap in order to take the lead. Keep AlphaTauri guessing in terms of their strategy, I suppose, could be the way for him to go. Scott up into P7. Good stuff from him in order to do so. Mitch also comes in on this lap for his towards the front. Ghost keeping Jim honest and just keeping that battery full really is always the Aston Martin's just his aim, and he is very good at what he does. Harry Bix rejoins a few seconds behind. That is what the undercut can do. That's how quickly the soft compound tyres go off around China. You can't be on them for very long, and he's lost a good 2 seconds to Sumo alone, let alone to his two teammates. So it begs the question, what's going to happen to James McCrow when he finally decides to come in that Aston Martin TTV Max on the back of Wu Max for P12. Both of them have come in to the pits for their mandatory pit stop, and a spin of Kington on the straight means he becomes our third retirement of this Grand Prix, and towards turn number 6 for the Ferrari and the Red Bull. unfortunately for Max, unable to mount a challenge. They're both trying to get onto the back of AP, who at the moment is staying stationed in P11. 2.3 to the next car, which is Mitch. And, well, Mitch is going to be a hard adversary in order to conquer, because he got P2 on his second qualifying session, and definitely got the race lead, but just couldn't quite hold it. XD little Jim on the back of SpongeBob, who himself is yet to pit. So Jim coming up to a bit of traffic. Ghost unable to stay within that DRS range, so Ghost is hoping that SpongeBob holds up Jim a little bit. James finally in, so MX staying out on that alternate strategy. Takes the lead of this race. SpongeBob though into the pit lane. Ghost losing a little bit of time, now using his battery in order to close back some of that lost time that he somehow lost under the pits. This is Sumo up into P5. That's going to be a net P3. So yeah, Sumo doing a great job. James McCrow has lost a ton of time, a good 3-4 seconds maybe, and a position to Mitch, who comes through in turns 1, and that was a very close call between himself and the Aston Martin. So I'm going to guess it's going to be a fight between these two for P5, unless Mitch can claw back 4 seconds to Harry Bix. It's going to be a monumental task, but he's definitely shown he's got the pace to do so. Halfway through this first sprint race of the day. Is that AP going round, or is that Davila? I believe it's Davila through turn 2. Very easy mistake to do. Brought the yellow flags out momentarily, but they quickly went back in. James McCrow still eyeing up Mitch's diffuser, though Mitch incredibly quick through this middle sector. Harry Bix eyeing up the Alpine. AlphaTauri versus Alpine, the Italian versus French outlet teams. Ghost losing a half a second to Jim over the last couple of laps. So I think it's going to be Jim's race to lose. A spin of, is that Womax? And SpongeBob, I think, has gone round as well. 2 sets of yellow flags. Both have managed to carry on, so nothing major. Up front, Sumo going half defensive, trying to break the slipstream to the AlphaTauri, who isn't closing anywhere near fast enough in order to mount any realistic challenge in towards turn 14. But closing the gap ever so slowly but surely. James McCrow, could he eye up and move on the Williams in towards turn 14? No, he couldn't. Not on this particular occasion. Jim now closing up to Tier and MX, both of which still yet to make a stop. Goes trying his best in order to close the gap to Jim. He needs this win in order to claw back some points. With TTV Max, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. One of the only to do so far. Womax into the pit lane. Can he get it stopped? Yes, he can. And James McCrow gets past Mitch, because once again Mitch has gone off. He's in the grass, doing some Formula Rally. Rejoins the circuit in P9. Could be even P10. No, it's going to be P9. And once again, a spin for Mitch. Could his confidence be getting the better of him? Maybe. As Harry Bix eyes up Sumo. We're going to keep our eyes on this battle for the time being. Though a shame for Mitch, because he's definitely got the pace he's one of the quickest cars on track for sure. In fact, let's have a little quick look at how the fastest lap stacks up. So at the moment it is Jim, which fair enough I think is the word to use, because he's been monumentally quick. Ghost back within 1 second, because Tier holding up Jim just a little bit. Was it during the detection zone? Is he within DRS range? No, he's not. No, yes, he is. So this could be what Ghost needs in order to latch back on. This is the Mercedes and AlphaTauri going side by side and towards turn 14. Is Tier going to fight this one too hard? No, he's not. So crucially ahead, and got a car between himself and his rival of Ghost. Harry Bix eyeing up a move on Sumo, closing under brakes, nearly into the rear end of Sumo. His brake pedal would have gone through the floor for the AlphaTauri, but manages to carry on pretty comfortably. So what Ghost needs now is to get past Tier, or hope that Tier pits, and that he can then slingshot past him. Tim having a look at Jim. He's keeping him honest for sure. Harry Bixon towards turn 1 maybe. Not quite. These are the two main battles we're going to be seeing for the majority of the rest of this race. Jim though nearly out of DRS, whereas Ghost well over half of his battery left to use. Harry trying to take that tighter line off of turn 4. But unfortunately unable to do so. As SpongeBob sets the fast lap at 34.243 down in P14. Definitely a man with pace, but like Mitch, might not have the consistency around Shanghai in order to mount a proper race winning challenge. Through turns 8 into 9 and 10 for these two. Once again, Harry Bix keeping Sumo honest, filling his mirrors, letting them know he is there. This is Ghost to the inside of Tier, perhaps. He's going to need to get the DRS and slingshot his way back into 1 second contention of Little Jim in front. Otherwise it will be a tough ask for Ghost in order, well, to keep Jim honest. Needs a good run using his ERS in order to get through. This is going to be crucial for the rest of this race. MX and Tid both yet to pit. To the right hand side goes Ghost. Gets himself ahead before the corner. Is it enough of a slingshot in order to see him within 1 second? It's close, not quite enough. And he's going to need to maintain that for nearly the entire lap. This is Harry Bix to the left-hand side of the Alpine in towards turn 14. The Alpine gives him a squeeze, bit of contact between the two as they're now herded away towards the final corner. The Alpine, as MX, the race leader, comes in. Bit of a squirm through the final corner of turn 15 for Harry Bix. And now back down this pit. DRS straight. Sumo having to look in his mirrors, going defensive. Is Harry Bix going to go to the left-hand side once more? Indeed, he is. The fight for P4, P3 overall. Harry Bix to the outside. He's going to keep him honest. The Alpine giving him a squeeze all the way through. It's going to be the outside of turn 2. Quickly the inside for turn 3. Sumo still on the outside, still wheel to wheel with these two. Harry Bix, though, gets himself ahead. Incredible racing between these guys. Sumo, though, he's not going to let that go too easily. He's going to fight back at the earliest opportunity. Both of them wearing their ERS a little bit thin. Sumo more so than Harry, but what a fight this was for the final net podium position. Harry Bix manages to get his way through, but he's got to keep it. It's one thing to catch up, it's another thing to get ahead, and then it's another thing to stay ahead. Just to add to what Murray Walker once famously said, Ghost closing on to Jim. He is within 1 second. This could be the 1 second he needs, and we could still see a race winning fight on our hands. Jim has managed to save a little bit of ERS. Has Ghost managed to get within that DRS detection zone and stay within 1 second? He's using his ERS. Has he got it? No. Just outside. It's such fine margins. But if you're not within 1 second, you're not going to get the DRS, the drag reduction system. This is Harry Bix weaving around, trying to break the toe to Sumo behind the Alpine, closing at a rate of knots. Is it going to be enough? In excess of 204 miles an hour under the brakes and towards turn 15. Alpine down the inside, though he goes too deep. Harry Bix says, thank you very much. I'm finding my way through, and gets himself back into that net P3. MX rejoins the circuit side by side with Pavs on those soft tyres, gets himself ahead. Tiff finally into the pit lane. MX now on those soft tyres, a charge to the end of the race. 3 laps left to go as they cross the line to start lap number 12, or well, lap number 11 I should say. I think it counts from the leader rather than who we're on board with. So for these guys, yeah, it's still going to be lap 11, 12, 13, 14, still 4 laps to go for these guys. So still not over for Palf, so a good result despite that. And Mitch, a good result for him in P8 despite the spins, the 2 spins. So his pace definitely showing what he's capable of. This is Ghost trying to close the gap to Little Jim. Sandwiched between the 2 AlphaTauris, though Harry Bix a little bit adrift. Having to double stack, and a bit of a squirm has allowed Sumo to reclose that gap. Those tyres might be for Harry, or just running too aggressive a setup. Which, to be fair, you can excuse him for, because it is a sprint championship. So we've got 2 battles going on. One between an Alpine and an AlphaTauri. The other between an Aston Martin and an AlphaTauri. Ghost definitely within DRS range this time around. Is it enough in order to close that gap down this back straight? He's not using his ERS, so he's just going to latch onto the back and slowly reel him in. Sumo launching the counter-attack. Crawley sets the fastest lap. DRS open for the Alpine. The AlphaTauri goes defensive. Is Sumo going to set him the dummy? No. He keeps him squeezed to the inside. Side by side in towards turn 14. It's the long way round for the Alpine. The AlphaTauri later under brakes. Though Sumo with that outside momentum gets squeezed nearly off the track over the curb. Side by side in towards the final corner of turn 15. The Alpine going to have the corner. Claims it. The AlphaTauri looks around the outside, though gets squeezed out. Is going to have the benefit of the DRS. Down this pit straight. Sumo with that incredible run off the final corner manages to maintain the lead so far in this little fight, though. Goes in too deep, so the AlphaTauri going to look for the switcheroo into the inside of turn number 2. This is great racing between these guys. Sumo still side by side, keeps him honest. The inside for turn number 3. The AlphaTauri tries to go for the switcheroo, bit of contact, practically pushing him now through turns number 4 in towards 5, and he bit of a squirm, nearly lost the rear end. Sumo going to have to go defensive, get squeezed. The AlphaTauri down the inside of turn number 6. Nearly making contact to the Alpine, who just gets squeezed out by the end of that corner. An incredible racing between these guys. James McCrow getting invited back into this fight for P3, now only 7/10 off and well within DRS range. And meanwhile, Jack Alaka got himself a 3-second penalty, but more relevant to that is that Ghost within 5/6 of Little Jim. This could quickly turn into a race winning fight, as well as the fight for P3. in this race. Harry Bix having to hold on monumentally and very valiantly from Sumo behind. Great racing between those two. DRS Open soon for Ghost down this back straight. He's closing and closing on Jim. He's just saving his DRS because Jim is raring thin. Ghost just trying to siege him out. This is Sumo launching that counter attack once more in the AlphaTauri. Still going defensive. Is it Deja Vu? Back to the middle of the track. Not quite deciding where he's going to go. The Alpine down the inside. Gets it stopped. Locks up both fronts. Having to claim the corner. Bit of contact once again between the two. Harry Bix rolls reverse from the lap previously. He's going to have the inside for turn number 15. Sumo tries it around the outside. Gets forced off the track. Muscled off. Fair play. He's going to rejoin nearly side by side. Gets the benefit of the DRS. Nearly contact to the rear diffuser of Harry Bix there. It's the outside of turns 1 and 2. Gets around the outside. Uses that momentum. Swoops to take P3 once more. Though the AlphaTauri, that short run comes back at him in towards turn number 2. The outside of 3. These guys really can't get enough of a fight. And going wheel to wheel to the outside. It's then going to be the inside for turn 5 and subsequently 6 for Harry Bix, who uses that run. Uses what little ERS he's got left in the battery to fight Sumo. Still wheel banging as they approach the braking zone. Sumo going to try it around the outside, gives it a go. The AlphaTauri squeezes in once more. They're going to be side by side on the run towards turn number 7 and then into 8. The AlphaTauri on the outside is going to use that momentum, or is Sumo going to claim the corner over the curb? There's contact, a big crash, and Harry Bix has retired from the race. And what an anticlimactic end, what a huge crash, and what a way to end what was such an incredible battle between the two. Harry Bix instantly retiring there. You saw mounted Sumo's car, just got that twitch over the curb, and a very abrupt end to an incredible fight between the two. And there should be no hard feelings in that, because it was completely an accident on Sumo's part, and I'm sure he'll apologise for it, but you cannot ignore the fact that those two were just going hammer and toe for that entire lap. Pretty much the last 3 laps have been those two going at it. So for Sumo, a bit of damage he's going to have to nurse to the end of this race. Mitch going to try and close the gap to APPF1, who at the moment is in P3. Here comes Mitch to the right hand side. Who's going to be braver under brakes? It's going to be the Williams. Claims the corner though out. The AP might be able to go for the switcheroo. Gets underneath him. Get the drive off the corner. Not quite enough. And the Williams stays ahead for the time being. Gets himself ahead onto the final lap of this race. Then Jim having to defend from Ghost, who's not managed really to launch an attack for the entirety of this race. Jim has done an incredible job out in front. Bit of a squirm from the Aston Martin. He needs to stay honest, well, keep the AlphaTauri honest. Use that 35% ERS he's got in the battery. Jim needs to save as much as he can, all to use down that back straight towards turn 14, because that is going to be Ghost's main opportunity to overtake. Ghost's theory, I think, is use all of the ERS all at once on that final lap so Jim can't get him back. It's a risky strategy, but it's worked before. It could work now. He needs to stay very close to the rear end of Jim through this middle sector. Use a little bit on this run towards turn 11 just to close the gap. Make sure he's within that 1 second range. In towards turn 12. Jack Alacco, the faster lap, 33.751. Ghost, this is the most important exit of this race. Using his DRS, he's going to have the DRS lap 14 of 14. It's all come down to the final lap. The Aston Martin breathing down the AlphaTauri's neck. Now DRS open. He's blitzing after him. Jim having to preserve ERS. Is it going to be enough for the Aston Martin in towards the braking zone of turn 14? Has a little look. Jim goes defensive. And I think just about is going to manage to hang on to this race lead. Went sort of semi-defensive, moved under brakes. That sort of discouraged Ghost, and through the final corner, Ghost threw everything he could at Jim, who comes across the line to win his first APPF1 sprint race. Ghost second, and James McCrow picking up the pieces from Sumo and Harry Bix's fight through turn 15. DRS open, or well, ERS across the line to finish P3. Double podium for Aston Martin. MXP4, a valiant drive from him. Mitch, a good drive back to the front of the field. P5, Pal's very quiet drive to P6, very respectable drive. Sumo could have been a podium in China, however, come to blows with Harry Bix. Tier in P8, TTV Max in P9, a good top 10 finish for him, and Scott, Rick and SpongeBob P10, 11, 12. Davila a few seconds later now across the line, P13. His run of form was very quick to the top, and unfortunately today hasn't been the best. Remax ends his streak of top 6 finishes today. Across the line, P14. Wiggles his way across. P14 for him. Jack Alacco, the Scotsman, not the best of races for him either. Finishes P15. But what a race that was around Shanghai. Incredible battling from all drivers. And they should all take a bow and give themselves a pat on the back. Good stuff. A well-deserved win for Little Jim, and should be one of many. Ghost tried everything, but just couldn't find the gap, couldn't find the way through, unfortunately. And after 14 laps of very hard racing, we'll go through the final finishing order for the Chinese Grand Prix. Little Jim takes the win for AlphaTauri, a double Aston Martin podium for Ghost and James McCrory. Important points for the Constructors' Championship. MX P4 with Mitch rounding off the top 5. A great drive for him. Just unfortunately a couple of spins setting him back. AP quiet drive to P6 with Sumo P7 to P7. Could have been a podium, but as I said, come to blows with Harry Bix after an incredible fight. Tier P8, good drive from P12. Same for Max in the Ferrari, his first top 10 finish of the season. Scott rounds off the top 10 for the Haas. Rick in P11 with Vitz SpongeBob P12. Good debut for him. Relatively good. Could have been better, but he's going to look to bounce back in Silverstone. Dabbler P13 with Wumax 14th. Jackalacco 15th. Corey 16th after lagging out at the start of the race. It was a fight for fastest lap between himself and the Scotsman. Harry Bix, Kington, Madman Ollie Oliver and Lifebout unable to finish this race, which is a shame. However, Harry Bix was still classified. That was a great start to the night. And once again, APPF1 delivering on all fronts. And yeah, hopefully we can look forward to Silverstone now in just a few moments' time. Do not go anywhere. Let's have a little look at the driver reactions to that. And well, a bit of a rivalry forming between Ghost and Mitch. They both are eager to have a battle, but when will they finally come to blows on the circuit and give each other a taste of each other's medicine? And well, that's just let's wait. I think it's going to be a battle for the ages when those two come together. It's going to be a battle of two tyrants, because Mitch, in only what's it been now, 3 races he's had in the Sprint Championship, has already proven that he could be a championship protagonist in the future, or even this season. He's very quick, very feisty, just needs to hone out a couple of mistakes and he'll be right up there. But for Ghost, an important race in terms of both points in the championship and both for points in the championship and from a confidence perspective, because he needs to get that mentality back after a couple of poor races here and there, just not been on it. Unfortunately for him. It shouldn't be too long until we go for lights out in Silverstone. Do not go anywhere, and definitely give us your predictions in the live chat. Once we get to Silverstone, I'll actually perform well. I absolutely hate China. It's not everyone's circuit. Silverstone, though, certainly is. You've got to love Silverstone. It's an incredible circuit. So much history, so fast, so flowing, so much opportunity for overtaking as well. Though it is very thirsty in terms of VRS. It does like to drain it. You're not on the brakes for very long, that's the thing. You think, let's go through the lap. You're flat through Abbey, you're flat through Farm. You have to brake a little bit for Village. For the loop, you're on the brakes, but you're not going very fast, so you can't really save that kinetic energy into electrical. And then you come out through Aintree. That is pretty much not a corner. It is in the wet, a bit in the dry. It's more just a kink. You're on the brakes for a little bit for Brooklands, but again, it's not one of those hard braking zones. It's more where you have to use the brakes to turn and just get it slowed down more than anything. Luffield, you might tap the brakes. That can save you maybe 1 or 2%. Then you come through Woodcote, that's flat. Cops, you're not on the brakes at all. Maggots, Beckett's, you're on a bit for Chapel, but again, that's just a dab, so you're not going to save much. Down the Hanger Straight in towards Stowe, you're on the brakes there, but again, you're down 3 gears and then you're already straight back on the power. Then you've got Vale, probably the hardest braking zone on the circuit. That's where you'll save the majority of your ERS. But other than that, you're just it's either a dab or completely off around Silverstone. So yeah, you've got to be careful with your ERS saving. That is probably where Ghost is going to come into his own. I think he can carve his way through the field. He's quick without using his energy recovery system, and that is what really separates him from a lot of other drivers, is that he can still maintain a top quality pace while still preserving the extra 160 brake horsepower that he could get. So we are getting ourselves ready to go then, lights out in Silverstone. And of course, it's a reverse grid race. The finishing order gets flipped on its head, so it's going to be Corey on pole. Maybe that was purposeful. Maybe he sort of writ off China just so he could try and chase that win in Silverstone, go for that home win. That sounds like a Corey thing to do, but hey ho. He wants to sort of get that confidence going, get that good run of form going, because it's all about momentum in the Sprint Championship. You just have to do it on the bounce, and just sort of hop, skip and a jump towards to the end of the season, and just once you've got that good form, then maintain that and try and carry that forward through the rest of the season. It won't be a one-shot qualifying. And of course, because, well, it's just a reverse grid of the previous finish order, no need for a qualifying, which makes it that ever more interesting, because you've got the faster guys coming through on the slower guys, but then again, everyone is very close on pace, so it's going to be hard for those at the back to sort of cut their way through. But look out for the likes of Paus and Ghost and other people, because they are incredibly good at cutting their way through a field. So too is Mitch. Look out for Mitch. He is going to come through this field just rapidly. He's going to dart his way through. At least I hope. That's what I'm predicting from Austria, because he blitzed through that field off the start. Made up a good, probably on average, between 1 and 3 places a lap for the first couple of laps. So fair play to him. And he's going to be starting, I believe, P12, because there's 3 DNFs. And then it's P1, P2, P3, P4. So he'll be P12. So he's right in the mid-pack, in fact. We'll have it. It'll be confirmed now. P12, look at that. But we go green for the formation lap then. Corey leads us round. Jack Alacco will be on the front. Drivers around Silverstone, in fact, and are on the front row, so it's going to be probably one of those two's races to win. Wimax in P3, Davila 4th, Spongebob P5 with Rick in P6, Scott P7, TTV Max in P8, Tyrion Sumo round off the top 10 with AP P11, Mitch P12, MX P13, and then the podium sitters of Jane McCrow, Ghost and Jim in 16th. Then the DNFs Harry Bix, Kington, Madman, Ollie Oliver, and Lifebout in P20. 13 laps of Silverstone, the reverse grid race, and the final race of tonight. We're at the end of this, a third of the way through season 5 already. Only 6 rounds in, because of the complications with some of the Formula 1 races don't want to overlap, so we've got to keep it a shorter season, but it means they get a couple of break weeks. So too do the stewards. So yeah, means I also get a break week and can keep my voice alive for a couple of moments, because, well, it's a good problem to have, having your voice hurt after a commentary stream, because that's when you know it's a good championship and a good league. It's when you're bored and really cannot be bothered. Is when you know it's particularly not the best one. However, APPF1, always looking forward to APPF1. Always delivered, always a good sized grid, always in excess of 15 drivers, which is what we want to see. There's hardly ever any DNFs. Yeah, always the most incredible racing, as Harry Bix and Sumo showed for the most part of last race. Corey and Jack Alacco, though, they're going to be fighting it out in towards Abbey. Turn number 1 here at Silverstone, ahead of 13 laps. Let's have a look at the tyre situation, in fact, quickly. We didn't get a chance to. Pretty much everyone on the mediums, and that's Wimax going for a spin before the race has even started. Down to P, well, not even going down. He's in P3 for the start, but if this was the race, he'd be tumbling down. Where is he behind now? That is Rick, so he'd be down into P7. However, Corey and Jack Alacco lining themselves up on the grid. Corey's going to take the first place slot on the left-hand side. It'll be a good run in towards turn 1. He's going to have the outside line, the outside momentum, but if Jack Alacco can get himself up the inside, it's a short run. It's going to be close. He's going to need to give it his absolute everything in order to mount a challenge on the Brit in the Red Bull. Towards Abbey then, waiting for the green flag at the back of the grid, and then the 5 red lights will illuminate on your screen. Here we go. waiting for the engines to start revving, waiting for the adrenaline to start pumping. And here we go then, folks. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 red lights for the British Grand Prix. The reverse grid sprint race, round number 2 is underway. Corey gets away well from pole position, so too does Womack, already looking alongside Jackalacco in towards turn 1, is ahead of Jackalacco in towards turn 1. Davila also looking in the mix. Jackalacco really going backwards, is now a Red Bull 1-2. Corey leaves Womack. Jackalacco looking to the inside. Davila trying to make up places at the start, going for the switch through. The Alpine getting all sorts of sideways. That's the McLaren of AP going off. Davila down the inside of Jackalacco, now going to be side by side onto the Wellington straight. Jackalacco around the outside through entry, manages to maintain that position. Looking further down the grid, you've got Tier on the back of Scott, trying to make up places onto SpongeBob in front. Davila can't find a way through on Jackalacco as it stands. Womack and Corey leads the grid then 1-2. With Jim and Mitch both having dire starts. Mitch down 7 places, going to go around the outside maybe of 2 cars. They're 3 abreast through Luffield, around the outside of the Alpine. Is it going to be around the outside of the AlphaTauri? No, it's not. But a poor start from both of them. An incredible start from Ghost, up 4 places into P11. So too for MX into P9. Is anyone going to go for a move in towards Maggins and Beckett? They're going to be absolutely crazy if they do so. We'll have to see. Corey already 1 second ahead. Pavs having a dire start to his true home Grand Prix. With MX on the back of Scott, down the hanger straight, no space on the inside. He's going to have to go to the left hand side, going to sell him the dummy. Look to the right hand side in towards Stowe corner. Nothing going to come of it for the Alfa Romeo. Though Scott's going to be looking in his mirrors, bumper to bumper to bumper in towards the Vale chicane. The Alfa Romeo going to go around the outside, the inside for the second part, though Scott squeezes him out. Now the Ferrari of TTV Max going to try it around the outside. He's off the track, side by side with Scott. Is he going to get both of them? Would have been a bit of wheel banging between the Ferrari, and now there's a lot of cars within one bit of space. That's Ghost going down the inside, side by side with his teammate through Abbey. Now James going to look to the inside of TTV Max in towards Village, under brakes, gets it stopped. Very nicely done, claims the corner though, the youngster on the left hand side. It's the inside for the loop. Ghost going to try and fill the space and follow him through that gap, but not quite going to have the pace to do so. Now side by side through Aintree. This is important for the remainder of this race because Ghost needs to get through these cars because his teammate is incredibly quick. He can't be affording to lose any places whatsoever. The AlphaTauri of Harry Biggs going to go down the inside of MX as well. Still side by side goes James and Max for the battle for P9. There's just so much action in one small space, and Max still going off the track. That's a 3-second time penalty, understandably so, as they go side by side down the old pit straight in towards Copse corner. James finally gets himself ahead, and the AlphaTauri of Harry Biggs wants to get past Ghost. Max might be coming back at him. Are they going to be side by side through Maggins, Beckers and Chapel? Surely not, no. He's going to back out of that one, but still a lot of effort and a lot of work for James to do in order to get himself to the forefront of this grid. Harry Biggs trying to close on Ghost, who's trying to close on Max. James McCrow going to get the move done on Scott in towards Stowe corner, 2 by 2. Both Aston Martins going for a move into the same corner. Is Ghost going to go for 2 in 1? No, he's not. Max, though, very aggressively defending this position. Gets squeezed out by the Aston Martin, and he's going to go back to the outside. Makes contact nearly off the track, trying to go around the outside of Scott. There's contact with MX, and it's just all kicking off because Ghost is trying to find a way through. They're all just trying to find a gap and hopefully not make any contact as Harry Biggs falls down to P15 as he had a spin. Just look at how many cars there are in one portion of the track, and oh no, Lifeboats made contact with Kington, who sent off the track. He went too slow, tried to back out of Abbey, and now Madman Ollie Oliver is going to go around the outside of Max, the inside of the loop. Maybe going to look for MX as well. Scott's get driven off the track by Ghost through Aintree. He might lose another place, indeed he is, to his teammate and of course to Max, so he's lost a good 3-4 places all in one. MX going to try and go for the move on Ghost in towards Brooklyn's not quite close enough to convert. And now for Ghost, he's cleared the traffic. Both Aston Martins up 6 places. Madman Ollie Oliver up 8 places off this start. But for Mitch, I think they might have come in for an early stop. So too Sumo and Pavs. They've lost a lot of time over the course of the last lap or so. Corey leads 1.6 from Womax. A Red Bull 1-2. Important stuff for the Constructors' Championship. DRS enabled on this lap as well. Davila 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. DRS open for it's SpongeBob in the Mercedes, closing in on the Flying Dutchman of Rick in P5 to the right hand side of Stowe. Should be a pretty plain sailing move on those medium tyres. Gets himself ahead. Very nicely done. We'll switch to the tyres and see how the medium compound tyres are doing. They're doing pretty well considering they're going long and should be the slower tyre. So for Rick and SpongeBob, they don't really want to hold each other up. They're on the alternate strategy. They sort of need to work together in order to get themselves forward. Davila sets the fastest lap of this race in P4, looking to get himself back on the podium. Harry Biggs into the pit lane as well, further down. Rick still on the back of the Mercedes. Both pretty equal pace on those medium tyres. Both of them need to get onto the back of this fight for P2. So it could soon be a 3-car train turn 5 if these two get their act together and start closing. They are very close to that DRS range. Tier also within DRS of Rick. So it could be even a 6-car train down to P7. Ghost and James also closing in at a rate of knots. If there's a safety car, if there's something that happens during the pit window, Ghost is going to want to be the leading Aston Martin. XD Little Jim gets past his teammate up into P15 on those fresh mediums to the end of this race. Jackalacco on the back of Womax, who's holding on brilliantly and being that mobile chicane for Corey, just blocking everyone behind him, using a lot of ERS in the process though. Davila, he's got the Mercedes for company. The McLaren has had a really good run of form as of recently, sort of knocked that in China, but he's bounced back very quickly and is now running a strong P4 here in Silverstone. But the DRS train is so powerful and you really can't make any moves. This is Jackalacco maybe to the right hand side of Stowe on Womax. Again, just can't find the space, doesn't have the run, not confident enough under brakes in order to go for the move on the Red Bull. Though Koru losing a little bit of pace, though he is saving his ERS. Very respectably so. He's still got nearly a full battery compared to his teammates 30%. So it's understandable that these guys are slowly chipping away at Koru's lead. SpongeBob sets the fastest lap of this race. Ghost in for an early stop, which is an interesting strategy. That is, well, Scott with a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, but for Ghost, he's going to go. What is he going to go for? Is he going to go for softs to the end? I mean, fair play if he does. He's going to be very quick, and those softs can go long. That is, yeah, that's a good shout for Ghost. I think he could now be in for a good shout. This is Jackalacco to the left-hand side of the Red Bull, finally going down the inside of Brooklands, gets it stopped, and now it's the chase. It's the hunt for Corey ahead. He's been stuck behind that Red Bull for 5 laps too long, I feel. Davila now at his turn to try and find a way through, and for Womax, in a pack such like this, once you get overtaken once and you lose that rhythm, it's harder to stay in front of everyone else. Breed overtakes through Cop's corner, pretty much flat out, maybe, probably not in the dirty air though. And separate Womax and Jackalacco. What Jackalacco needs is to make sure he prioritises that good run out of Chapel and on to the Hangar Straight. DRS open for Jackalacco. Well, it won't be. It'll be against Jackalacco for Davila. Here comes Womax on the counter-attack, and all that hard work that Jackalacco's done for the past 5 laps could be coming undone. The Alpine down the inside, though the Red Bull with that outside momentum uses the speed to now have the inside for the Vale chicane. The Alpine's going to have to be very committed under the brakes, goes for it, but the Red Bull squeezes him out. Incredible counter-attack from Womax to retake that Red Bull 1-2. And Jackalacco needs to keep his nerve, needs to keep his composure, needs to try and bounce back and get himself back ahead of those in front. Still waiting for these guys to come into the pit lane. And meanwhile, Ghost has got some lovely clear air on those softs. Could have gained a lot of net time over these guys. SpongeBob still unable to get himself involved in the mix of this battle. Jackalacco going for the switcheroo down the Wellington straight. Davila just has to spectate it. He's now using a bit of ERS in order to close the gap. Womax going defensive, brings it back to the left, to the right-hand side. Jackalacco committed under brakes. Davila's going to try and fill the space that he creates, and now run side by side in towards Luffield with the Red Bull. Going to go around the outside, use that soft tyre grip. Pretty even pegging between the two. Now side by side through Woodcote down the old pit straight. Womax just doesn't have it in the battery to defend. Is he going to lose the place to SpongeBob as well? Womax looks to the inside of Cops, but can't quite convert, and that is the problem with defending so hard. You waste your battery, and then once one person comes through, they all come through. Good opportunistic battling from Davila to find a way through there, and now Jackalacco has got a McLaren in his sights as opposed to a Red Bull. Davila getting a poor run through Chapel. This could open the door for Womax to maybe come through, but he's not got enough in terms of overspeed to get through. Jackalacco having to go defensive from the McLaren, the fight for P2. Both of them have been fighting and trying to get their way through the field all race long. They're now side by side in towards the Vale chicane, though the Alpine splits off and goes into the pit lane. So Davila, pretty free run. Womax also comes in. Could probably save a bit of ERS in the pit lane. It's a long and slow pit lane here at Silverstone, so you do get a lot of ERS back. Rick also comes in on those mediums. James stays out on those softs. All eyes, though, I would say, are on Ghost, where he comes out. Actually, he's not really made much of a dent. Could be close. It's a slow pit lane, so the purple middle sector as well. So he's probably gained a good couple of seconds, maybe, on these fresh softs, and will be, of course, to the end of this race. He's got Little Jim in his sights. Both of these guys going to the end of the race. And because it's just such a slow pit lane, 37 kilometers an hour, I think, and it's one of the longest pit lanes as well on the calendar. Ghost, none surprisingly, goes quickest. Is he going to get all of these guys? He's going to get up to Rick, I think. Indeed, he does. Maybe even side by side with the Alfa Romeo. Jim definitely gets ahead. Wheel to wheel go the Aston Martin with the Alfa Romeo around the outside of Village. Gets it stopped. Nicely done for the Aston Martin. That was an important move for him to make. Jim now got the Mercedes in his sights. Rick trying it around the outside of Aintree. On Ghost, has to tuck in behind. Use that ERS and the DRS if he wants to launch a counter attack on those fresh softs. This is for position. And looking to the inside of Brooklands, Ghost gives him a little nudge of room just to be sure that he doesn't get driven into. But Ghost, good stuff in order to make up a couple of crucial positions in the pit lane. SpongeBob gets himself past Davila as these medium tyres now come in to their own. Is Davila going to come into the pit lane on this lap? Corey does. SpongeBob, very late call, comes in for softs. So he's going to be very quick to the end of this race. That's the thing with Silverstone, is that the softs actually last so long and they retain their speed for so long as well. As James McCrow gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, unfortunately for him. Ghost on the back of Little Jim. He's not got a lot in the way of ERS, but he's definitely got the DRS, the slipstream, and the soft tyre grip, pushing this AlphaTauri down the hanger straight in towards Stowe Corner. Goes to the right-hand side. The AlphaTauri eyes up a move to the inside. Goes Ghost. The AlphaTauri going to try it the long way round. Can't quite keep that momentum up, and now Ghost is going to go for 2 and 2 down the inside of the Mercedes of the Vale chicane. The Mercedes, though, keeps that momentum. Goes with a soft tyre grip. Can go around the outside of the second part through Club. Keeps the foot in, and nicely done for. And how many more cars can he jump in the pit lane phase? He's going to have the overspeed. Gets past SpongeBob and his teammate up into P5. Ghost has played the strategy to a T. And it's pretty much, look at how many cars there are in this train. Tier around the outside of Jim, the inside for the loop. Tier forcing him wide. Rick down the inside of the AlphaTauri as well is all kicking off. A lot of cars trying to fill one racetrack. Bit of contact. Luckily, Rick manages to save that. Now James is going to try and thread the needle. Lets the AlphaTauri back onto the track. 3 abreast down in towards Brooklands. MX now trying to get involved in the mix as well. There's made contact. MX has been sent round. He's collected his teammate Rick, having to take avoiding action as Mitch as well tries to get involved. Just look at how many cars. There's a good 6-7 cars all filling probably a good 10 car lengths, and there's just not enough space. Pushing Rick down this old pit straight is Mitch in towards the inside of Cops. Maybe no, not quite going to be able to go for it, unfortunately. SpongeBob, though, just a lot of drivers having to fill the same racetrack, and for Ghost that allowed him to open up a bit of a gap to Tier because he had that free air. Ghost closing on Davila, could be P4 maybe for him. And all eyes at the front now between Koru and Jack Lacko. Koru with that, I believe it's a 3-second. Indeed it is for track limits. SpongeBob gets past Little Jim into the inside of Stowe. Little Jim trying it around the outside, gets shaky over the grass. Stowe gets forced off, though that wasn't his corner to claim. As Davila into the pit lane, so Ghost gets P4 for free. Bit of contact again between Madman, Ollie Oliver and Jim. He's going to lose a further 4 places in the span of 3 corners. Mitch up the inside of Rick as well. Now side by side in towards Abbey down the Hamilton straight. Though Mitch going to claim the corner. Rick has no eye, but he's going to go for the switcheroo. Have the inside for Village maybe. Mitch goes defensive semi. Just covers off the inside enough. The Alfa Romeo, the Flying Dutchman, can't look for a move. Maybe to the inside of the loop. SpongeBob on the back of the Aston Martin of James McCrow. The Mercedes down the Wellington straight to the left-hand side. Going to blitz past on those fresh soft tyres. DRS as well for good measure. Gets of the Aston Martin. Who has to tuck in behind. Madman Ollie Oliver. Tier 2 contender. P8 amongst some of APPF1's best. This is a mixture of both Tier 1, Tier 2 and other people who don't compete in either for the Sprint Championship. This is Jim to the left-hand side of Rick. He does have to go defensive into Cops. Might go around the outside. No, he's going to use that momentum. Both of them go off the track. And the 2 Mercedes very close on track as well. Tier really doing a good job. He's kept Ghost honest on pure pace. And SpongeBob with those fresh softs should probably help Tier out a little bit. Maybe Tier could let him through and then use SpongeBob as the sort of the vessel to catch after Ghost, who will have the quicker tyres of the 2 Mercedes. In towards Vale. SpongeBob making further indents. 3.5 seconds between Ghost and the podium. He's made a stellar comeback drive compared to the likes of, well, Mitch and P9 not bad. SpongeBob sets the fastest lap. But the likes of Harry Bix and Sumo, Palps, Davila, they've not really had the best of days at all in this reverse gear sprint race, as well as Jim in P11. Just had come to right wars really, and has had to contest with a lot of stuff. DRS open down the Wellington straight for the two Mercedes. They're going to go side by side, one on the mediums, one on the softs. Tier's just going to concede this position and is probably going to stuck in behind his teammate, who's going to look to try and close the gap to Ghost. Now the gap only 6 tenths, so SpongeBob goes in deep. Tier's going to look up the inside. No team orders here at Mercedes. They're going to be side by side through Woodcut. Maybe Madman Ollie Oliver has gone for a spin and has left the session. We now approach 4 laps left to go in this Grand Prix. Dents on Womax by 4 tenths or so. He's going to need a little bit more than that. He's probably going to need, what is that going to be, 3.5 laps left to go, let's say, in 3 seconds. Yeah, he's going to need a second a lap and just get himself within DRS range for that final lap as well, and of course to have the energy in order to get through. Though SpongeBob not going to make it easy for him. Rick trying to launch the counter attack on Mitch. Jim to the inside of Rick as well. This 3-car train. The cars we saw very bunched up have sort of branched off. Rick looking to the inside. The Williams covers it off. Moves to the outside very late. And now around the outside for Rick. Incredible move. The inside for the second part. The Williams tries it around the outside. Now Jim's going to say thank you very much. Come up the inside of Club over the curb. That's not the best way to go about that corner. Now the Williams looking to the inside of Abbey. Rick manages to stay ahead though, practically pushing him. Look how close he is. It's like NASCAR bump drafting each other in towards Village. The Williams on the outside on those medium tyres going to go for the switcheroo. It's going to be the double switcheroo because Rick's now on a compromise line for the loop. Where's Jim in all of this? Looking to the inside. Mitch going to have the benefit of the DRS, the slipstream and his ERS, giving him that extra 160 brake horsepower. Rick already going defensive. Is it too much? The Williams fills the space on the inside. Incredible stuff. Now Rick with that outside momentum around the outside of Brooklands. This is incredible racing between the two. The young Dutchman down the inside. Mitch, the contender, trying to prove himself in this APPF1 grid, has to settle in behind it for P9. SpongeBob still on the back of Ghost. There's just so much battling going on. There's one of the McLarens, I believe it's Davila, who had such a good start to this race, has really fallen off. Now side by side through Cobbs. Rick and Mitch going side by side in towards Maggins and Beckers. Are they nearly going to be 3 abreast? Look how close Jim is as well. There's contact and Rick's been sent round. Now Jim going to look around the outside of Mitch. Not quite, going to have to tuck him behind. He's going to have the benefit of the DRS as well as SpongeBob on the back of Ghost. We're going to have to switch between the two battles, and Mitch, to his APPF1 friend, says, well, you can come through now, it's all good. He's just got the overspeed in order to do that. Rick tumbled down the order, down to P17 from 1 spin. That's how close this race has been. On towards the penultimate lap, and Ghost has really made big dents on Wimax's lead of P3. Corey seems to be comfortably leading, though he needs another couple of tenths in order to sustainably win ahead of Jackalacco. Wimax out of contention pretty much, unless there's a miracle spin. The podium for Wimax would be absolutely stellar and bring him back onto that run of form. Nearly into DRS range, using his DRS, using what's left of it. Wimax using what's left of it in order to stay ahead. Now SpongeBob not got a lot in his battery either. Mitch on the back of Jim. Can he launch an attack? Not quite, but it's a 3-car train. 3rd, 4th and 5th for the final podium place. None of them have penalties. It's a lap and a half left to go to the checkered flag. Who's going to get this podium? Is it going to be Wimax, Ghost or SpongeBob? The Aston Martin on an absolute stellar comeback drive from the back of the grid. Corey's led pretty much from start to finish. Jackalacco in P2 as well. Wimax has driven incredibly well to sustain P3. Also, Davila has retired from the session, which is a shame because he's not going to get any points as opposed to the 1 point he could have got if he just drove it to the end. Still DRS for Ghost as he tries to close the gap to Wimax in front for P3. Not quite enough. Neither for SpongeBob. He's going to be the third man in the train, which is probably the worst place to be. Other than, well, I mean, second is worse because you have to look forward as well as backwards. But also third is the worst because you can't really close the gap to those in front. Now onto the final lap of this race because, and Lifeboat was actually DNF'd as well through Stowe. Weird place to crash, or is he, unless he's just DNF'd for the sake of it. Max getting up the inside of Scott. They're going to be side by side through Club 12. I think Scott maybe have a bit of damage because he really understeered off the exit. James McCraw on the back of Tiered up the inside of Village in towards the loop, though we have to cut our focus between Ghost and Wimax. Is this going to be cruelly taken away from Wimax on the final lap? Is Ghost going to close the gap? Wimax going defensive to middle of the track. The Aston Martin going to try it around the outside, late under brakes, uses that momentum side by side through Brooklands. Go the Red Bull in the Aston Martin. Wimax trying to squeeze him. Now going to come back at him around the outside of Luffield. Going to have to tuck him behind and use what's left down the old pit straight. SpongeBob still having to settle behind for P5. and tyres might be equal in terms of pace to those old soft tyres that have done 7 laps for Ghost now, who gets that podium place. Very good job for him. Womax goes off the circuit. SpongeBob going to want to try and find a way through. Ghost has used up the entirety of his usable energy, and oh no, Womax has gone round. How has he saved that? Fair play to Womax there, but he's now going to be side by side with the Mercedes down the old hangar straight. And oh, SpongeBob is going to get past. He's lost 2 places. That's going to knock him off the podium, though. SpongeBob is going to say fair enough, go back through. But unfortunately for Womax, it's not going to be the dream podium. It's going to be Ghost that takes it. But through the final corner, Koru, his first APPF1 victory from pole to flag, takes the win of the British Grand Prix. Jackalacco, the Scotsman, in P2. And after penalties, he is going to have to settle for P2. Ghost P3, a stellar drive. Womax P4. And SpongeBob P5. James McCrow, again, still good points for Aston Martin. He tumbles to P7 after penalties. P8 after penalties. Harry Biggs jumps to P8. James McCrow down to P10. Max across the line. P11. Scott P11 after penalties. So we'll have to definitely have a look after the post penalty applications. 2 turns between the 2 race leaders. It wasn't clear cut for Koru. He had to work for that to clear the penalty. But a good race overall. Womax, that's going to go down as the save of the season. That was incredible. An incredible save for Womax in order to keep that car in a straight line and to still go on to finish P4. With the save of the season. Very deserved podium. All 3 drivers. Koru taking his maiden victory. Jackalacco nearly got him. But in the end, it was 2.5 tenths to separate the 2 race leaders after the penalties were applied. Koru from pole to flag, with Jackalacco P2 to P2. Goes from P15, an incredible drive. The best of the front runners, narrowly getting himself on to the podium. Womax P4, an incredible save, and could have one more lap. If the race was called 1 lap earlier, would have gotten his podium. SpongeBob P5, good result for him on debut with the fastest lap as well. Takes home 16 points for Mercedes. Mitch in P6 with MX P7. Harry Biggs, a good drive from 17th to 8th with tier P9, and James rounds off the top 10. Stumo P11 with Paus P12. Quiet drives for these 2, not really where they would have wanted to be. Kington P13 with Scott 14th. DDV Max rounds off the top 15 with Rick P16. After a great battle with the likes of Jim and Mitch, that was cruelly taken away from him. Jim, Madman Ollie Oliver, Lifebout, and Davila, the sole DNF from the British Grand Prix. Incredible racing from all drivers. And, well, that is the APPF1 standard. Was it better than Austria? Was it better than Bahrain? Do let me know in the comment section below. But it certainly was up there with one of the best nights of racing we've seen in the Sprint Championship. We're only 2 rounds into Season 5, and I can already tell it's going to be a season to remember. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to have to wrap it up here. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk you through tonight's action, and I can tell you my voice is dead. But anyway, guys, I've been Zach Sweeney. This has been the APPF1 Sprint Championship Season 5 Round 2. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Enjoy your Halloween, and I'll see you next time.